Welcome to this week's Real Growth Podcast, where we get to talk to local business owners and gain their insights into running a business. This week, I get to meet with Karen and Jeremy, owners of rock climbing gym, ROCA Climbing and Fitness. Thank you both for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. For those that don't know, what is ROCA?
Well, we are mainly a rock climbing gym, but we also have fitness. So we have a fitness studio upstairs, and we do a lot of yoga classes. We are a gym that's really for everybody. We have people as young as 2-3 years old coming in to climb, as well as up to 83 is our oldest member. So we're just a place where we want everyone to come in and give it a try. They can go as high as they want, go all the way to the top, or just get on the wall and try and get off the ground. So,
Yeah, and I think having a rock climbing gym here in the Midwest, we definitely have to think about non-climbers or people that have never done it before. So compared to other gyms around the country, we probably are more focused on brand new people, making it very, very easy to access the gym, because most people that live in the Midwest have not had any experience with rock climbing. So we have a lot of what are called auto belays, where it's within 5 minutes we can get you up on the wall climbing pretty easily. And then on top of that, we also have lots of classes and things to teach people how to progress in their climbing once they've kind of gotten that bug and like, hey, this is kind of cool. I want to keep going with this. So yeah, we're very heavily focused on the beginner and the new person and kind of progressing people's skills with lots of classes and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so it sounds like anybody of any degree, beginner to expert, can come in and just join the gym there and start climbing right away.
Yep. Yeah, and we've also focused on just people that maybe don't think the activity would be for them. So we have a lot of adaptive climbing. So we work with people with special needs, whether it's cognitive or a physical need, that we can adapt our equipment to make sure that they have a similar type of experience to get on that wall and kind of meet whatever goals they might have.
And you guys have been doing an awesome job. So congratulations on everything that you've accomplished so far.
So I think the part of what it's helped us is climbing's been around forever. It's a really old sport. I've been doing it since 1990, so almost 35. And in that, the recent growth has come to like these newer facilities and kind of becoming a little bit more mainstream. But then also the Olympics has helped out the last time around. But then it's also this summer in Paris is going to be a part of the Olympics again, which is pretty cool for us. And then, with social media and things nowadays, there's the new generation of superstars from climbing. Alex Honnold, everybody thinks of with his movie Free Solo and things like that. But there's lots of other. Over my years of climbing, there's always been like the top people in the sport. But one thing that's really cool about the sport that I've enjoyed ever since I started was you run into these people. Like you go climbing, there's only one Yosemite, there's only one Devil's Tower. There's been so many times when I've been out climbing and like walking down the trail, I got to the climb order, I look over and it's, somebody that I was just reading about in the magazine, the night before, standing right next to me. We'd strike up a conversation and they're super psyched to talk to you and help you with your climb. And just the famous people. And I think the kind of the heads of the sport have been really cool. I think it's a lot different than other sports. They're just very accessible.
Approachable.
Yeah.
A lot of climbers. We've had a couple climbers come to our gym. Not many, but we've had a few that walk in and, they don't say anything, but people are like, do you know who that is? So it's cool, but they just come climb and hang out, have fun.
And then one of the other ones that kind of jumps in my mind is Tommy Caldwell. He's kind of like, he's right behind Alex Honnold. He does a lot of things with Alex Honnold. But his sister actually used to live in town here. Sandy Caldwell. She lived here for a long, long time. And she was still living here when we were opening up. And when he was doing his, when he did the Dawn Wall, I don't know if you guys remember that at all, but it was a big thing in the news for a long time. They were the first ones to free climb, which means with a rope, but like just using their hands and feet to climb this feature on El Capitan, which was pretty impressive. And he was doing his book tour after that. And she had him come through town to come visit him or whatever, and she brought him into the climbing gym. And it was when we were building the place, so it wasn't quite ready to go, but he stopped by, and he had his kids with. We have kids the same age, so they're playing with each other out in the parking lot, riding their bikes around and stuff. But it's just, yeah, I feel like the famous people within our sport are super accessible and super fun to talk to you, and it's just kind of makes it, more fun to be a part of.
That is actually a really interesting point that you bring up is, if I want to play baseball, I can't just go to any major league baseball stadium and start playing there, but you can go climb a wall with some of the top people. Because like you said, there's only one Yosemite. Yeah. It seems like it's definitely very much so a kind of a community focused sport and something that you can do for a long time.
For sure. I was just kind of thinking of like the growth of the sport and like the things that have really made it catch on. There's two things actually kind of hop into my mind. I think the collaborativeness of the sport, if that makes sense. It's not a sport where you're competing against somebody else. Like I win if you lose, like baseball, like you mentioned, or other traditional sports. It's more, person against person or team against team. It's like the only good outcome is you having a bad outcome kind of thing. Whereas rock climbing is you're always competing with yourself. You're trying to better yourself. You're trying to get farther than you did yesterday, do a little bit better. And being in an environment with a whole group of other people there trying to help you do the same thing is really cool, because when you hang out in the gym and we have our members there all the time, people watch each other climb and they see like a person get stuck. Oh, I know how to do that. Like, I want to go help them. I'm going to go over and talk to them and make a friend and be like, hey, did you try this in this one spot? And oftentimes you'll see the success come. And it's just that kind of reinforcing, like, this is a super cool community of people that come together we're all here for the same thing. And we're here to try and help each other out, I think is a super unique aspect to the sport that's really helped kind of drive it to go much bigger in the last 10 years. I'm like, you notice how everybody puts their phone away? They put it in their bag and they slide it into their little cubby, and they're here. They're paying attention. They're, talking to people. They're not on their phone constantly taking, Instagram photos or whatever. The phones kind of go away right when people come in. And I think it's one of those subconscious things that people don't, are like, okay, I'm going to make sure I put my phone away and not be on the phone. It just happens. It's just kind of the way the place is set up. And I think it's kind of one of those subconscious things that just helps people be present and like being there, is because they're, talking with the people in the room, not necessarily just staring at their phone all the time. So. Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that. I think it is amazing. And you and I had kind of talked about that at one point in a past conversation, is being able to go to your gym and climb on those walls. You can keep going and going, and you put your phone away, and then all of a sudden it's been a half hour or it's been an hour and you haven't looked at your phone, and you truly have disconnected. When I go to lift weights at a different gym, it's like, okay, I did 8 reps and now I'm gonna go on my phone for a little bit, and like you don't truly get away mentally, and that's a huge part of working out, or just kind of that self-reflection, and it's important to step away from those devices. So yeah, that's an awesome point that you bring up.
We've had parents tell us, like, this is the only time my kid talks to me, because I'm struggling on a route that they can do, and they are come over and helping, and it's super fun to watch kids do that too, because it's one of the only times that they might know more, like be better than their parent at,
right?
And they like that kind of that switch of roles, and it's a really fun dynamic if you kind of pay attention to those little things going on. It's super fun.
Yeah, I love that. It truly is really cool, just like be able to step away from your phone for an hour. So it's really like refreshing, honestly.
Yeah, and it just happens so naturally. I don't even think people think about it, because everybody I mentioned to, they're like, oh yeah, I didn't even realize. Yeah, I put my phone away and I haven't looked at it for an hour.
Well, also, where are you going to put your phone when you got with your whole belt on? You can't get into your pockets too easy. So.
We've actually had to tell people, don't put phones in your pockets, because sometimes they pop out at 40 feet, and I don't care about your phone. I just care about people's heads.
Right. Yeah. You don't want me taking a selfie at the top of your rock climbing wall. I really love the auto belay feature of that, because you can just jump right in. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but you take maybe like a 10-minute video course. You kind of explain a couple of things, if I remember correctly, and then you can just start climbing right away.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, our gym, compared to most gyms in the country, we have like almost 40 of those auto belays all over the gym. And it's funny to watch a lot of people that come to our gym, when they travel to other towns or whatever, they're like, oh, let's go check out the local climbing gym. And they'll go and they're like, where are all the auto belays? Because it's not normal to have as many as we do. Most gyms will have a few, even like the biggest gyms in the country only have, 10 maybe. And they're usually like in a kid area or like a spot that doesn't change very much, where we have them throughout the entire gym on all level of difficulties that we have. So it's very unique that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I've been, like you said, I have been to others, and it's like, well, you have this small section to climb, and I like having your entire area that you can climb. Yeah. So tell me a little bit, how did you get started with the business? How did the business kind of come to fruition?
This can be kind of a long story, but we'll. So just a short history. I'm born and raised here in Rochester. I started rock climbing in 1990 with the local Boy Scout troop that was out of St. John's here, and we used to go to the Black Hills every summer, or most summers, for summer camp. And in 1990, I was finally old enough to try the rock climbing there, and they actually had like a real rock climbing wall right within the camp. And that was my first taste of it, and I'm like, yep, this is what I'm doing. So
got hooked.
Yeah, there was a couple other older boys in the troop that were already into rock climbing, and they kind of kept me going into it. And then beyond that, I found like the local climbing crew, which Jim Craighead was a part of, and a lot of other people. It was a little unique at the time. I was in my early teens when I kind of got into it, or I was 10 when I got into it, and then kind of finding the climbing crew here. I was in my teens, where back then in the 90s it was mostly like a 20-somethings or 30-somethings kind of sport, and it was kind of obviously non-mainstream. It's getting there now, but it was kind of far out there back then. So I was this teenager hanging out with a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds going rock climbing on the weekends and stuff. And I didn't think much of it because I just loved it. So then continuing on from there, I went off to college first semester, and I found out a couple of the local crew of friends of mine were starting a climbing gym here in Rochester called Prairie Walls. And we opened that in 1998. At first I was hired to work full time there, and then during the construction process they offered me to buy in as a partner, so I did that. And then during that time owning that, I ran that gym, started a climbing team, which was kind of a very new thing in the sport for kids, and then I also built other climbing walls around the Midwest, more like smaller ones for like YMCA's or like
Nature Center.
So yeah. Lanesboro, Eagle Bluff, I built that rock climbing wall they have. Or St. John's University, I built that wall that they have there. Or Albert Lee, at their YMCA, I built that wall there. So kind of more around the Midwest, because there's not many people that build climbing walls. There's like 6 or 7 companies in the country that do that. So I travel around a little doing that. And then in 2004, I parted ways with my partner, went on to go long haul truck driving for 10 years. Luckily, before I left there, I had met Karen at Prairie Walls. She was in town for nursing school. And we had met at my climbing gym kind of shortly before I had left there. So we hit it off. We went, our first date, we always say it was we went to Devil's Tower and climbed Devil's Tower together with another friend too. But we went out to the Black Hills for the weekend and climbed all weekend, and then we finished the weekend by climbing Devil's Tower together.
That's huge.
Which was a lot of fun.
Devil's Towers, that's big. That's big. Yeah. How long did that take you to get to the top of that?
It's not too bad, maybe like an hour or two.
Okay.
With the 3 of us, know. I've done it several times. I mean, like to a non-climber, it's like, whoa, that's like a huge thing. And it's cool, but I mean, it's tough when you've been out to Yosemite and places where you have walls that are 4 or 5 times as tall as that. Right. To think of Devil's Tower is like, yeah, it's cool. And actually, this summer I'm hoping to take one of my sons up there. He's been getting that bug to like, this is kind of fun. I want to do this more. So, but anyway, so going back to how we got there, we stayed together while I was trucking, and then we started a family. So we wanted to get me off the road, and we were thinking about lots of different things. I could go back to school or for different things or whatever. But then my passion was really the rock climbing. I really missed the rock climbing gym and the people in the community and the kids with the climbing teams and stuff like that. So we're like, let's just do the rock climbing gym thing again.
So you're able to take all your resources that you had, your connections that you had, and your drive and passion for rock climbing and put it all together in a business in our community.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. I think that there's a lot that comes to running a business. And one of those things also is how to name your business. And that can be a challenge. So walk us through why ROCA? How did you come up with that name?
Yeah. So in rock climbing, I mean, in most any businesses, there's lots of ways to play on the name to make it, funny or whatever, catchy, all sorts of things. I had all sorts of ideas for names, and knowing that we had a new community, I wanted something very simple and catchy and something like, would stick in people's brains. And I did a lot of research on like naming a business, like what do people think of when you name a business. And I found a documentary on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it now. It was 12 years ago or whatever it was, 15 years ago. And one of them mentioned like having a short 2-syllable with like harder consonants name can help with that kind of that catchiness of the business name, like Kinko's or FedEx, those those, it's 2 syllables with very hard consonants. And oftentimes I like to look to different languages, especially for our business. Rock climbing is a worldwide sport. It's all over the world. It's been there forever. So looking at other languages and things like words they use to describe rock climbing. And I came in the Spanish language, I came across the word ROCA, which is just rock in Spanish. But it was just a slight twist on how to say it. And I was like, oh, it's like super catchy and kind of fun to say. And I, asked a few people, like, what do you think? And like, oh yeah, it's kind of short, sweet, catchy. Like, and then there was also the added benefit of having a potential of right away we're like, oh, like ROCA, ROCA, that could be like Rochester or something, blah, blah, climbing associated or something. We could eventually turn it into an acronym if we wanted to, but we never got that far because it was just kind of fun on its own. And,
right. Yeah. It caught on.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things about running businesses is it's hard. There's a lot of things that you have to consider, whether it be the name of the company or it be the actual logo of the company. So that was one challenge that you had to overcome. What are some other like big challenges throughout the years? Like, what are some of those big challenges that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome those?
I feel like I'm talking more.
Well, I think that just the challenge of opening a business that maybe not a lot of people understand what it is that can be you're getting people to learn about a new sport for many people, getting people to come and want to try it and then want to stay, because we do have walk-ins, but we also have a membership base. So, being able to kind of balance both of those things. So constantly trying to get new people in the gym, but also trying to make sure that we have a really good, robust community that supports the gym. And so I think we have really accomplished that, because in the end, that's what we hear the most is this just feels right. It feels good to be here. And that to me is our biggest accomplishment, is people just like being there. Some people will come and just hang out. They don't even touch the wall. They just come and hang out with, other friends that they've met. Just come and watch other people, because it is a cool thing to watch. So it's interesting. It's sports, but it's also can be for some people just their entertainment or their fun thing to do every once in a while. So I think really that's been the biggest learning curve for us, is going, okay, we have multiple customers or multiple types of customers, all in the end goal, wanting them to have a great time, but trying to figure out, okay, how do we make sure people know us and come in and experience it for what they want to do when they come in. So.
Right. I've often told my wife that I wish I lived out northwest Rochester so I could be closer to you guys, because like I want to be there every day. It's a ton of fun there.
Yeah.
I think so. One of the other things is kind of what I'm hearing from you is, how do you keep things then constantly interesting and keep people coming back? Like, what draws people in? How do you do that?
I think there's like multiple things.
Yeah. So as a climbing gym, we work in kind of like thirds. So like a third of our business is just like walk-ins, just people that just come in the door or punch cards, things like that. Another third is our membership base. And then another third is kind of everything else, whether it's like retail or groups or summer camps or all sorts of birthday parties, like kind of those group activities. So we see that membership base is kind of our most important part to keep those people coming back. So for those people, we do a lot of like member only events. We're constantly changing the routes in the gym too, because the things you hold on to and step on, those move all over the wall. And so a typical route will stay up for only like 3 months or so, somewhere in there. So we're constantly changing things out. So even if you come, almost every day, especially for our climb team kids that are there like all week long, every week, there's always new challenges, new things to work on, all sorts of things like that. So
yeah, and that route setting, it's there's a whole plan and structure in place for how that does ebb and flow. And we have a head route setter. We have, I think, about 12 part-time route setters that come throughout the year. And change different parts of the gym. So it's not like all the gym comes down at once. Some people ask that. Would you just take all that down and then put it back up the next day? No, we have certain routes that come down. So there's kind of a different change throughout the gym, throughout the year. And then one of our big things that we do each year is we hold a a competition. It's a really large competition where we actually shut down the gym. And that is the time where we do take down lots of routes all at once and put up a whole brand new, how many routes do we do?
we take down like over 100 routes,
Yeah.
and then over the course of the week leading up to the competition, we put up only 29 specifically for the competition. So I mean, it's a lot of work to, as you can imagine, like taking all those holds and footholds down. We wash everything every time it comes down too, so it's all, sanitized and all that stuff. So it's our biggest event of the year, and we draw people from North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa.
Yep.
All around for this competition specifically.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a big thing to involve the community too. I think over the years, as we've gotten to know more businesses in the community and people have gotten to know us, having just really cool partnerships with other businesses. So we try to involve, other local business during that time to, not only give a shout out to them, but if they want to sponsor anything, if they want to show off their product, if they want us to, give them a space or a venue for them to come in. We'll have different vendors that day. And so we've really tried hard over the years to establish really, really good, fun partnerships with other businesses. So
Yeah, I think that's huge. Just getting involved in the community and, like you said, bringing the others in. It's good for both people. It's good for the people that you bring in so that they can get exposure, but then also your name gets out there a little bit more. So, and correct me if I'm wrong on this part, but I imagine when you were doing marketing for the business in the beginning, it was probably a lot harder. You probably had a lot more marketing that you had to do versus now. Am I right on that? Am I wrong?
yeah, I think so. When you first start a business, there's so many different ways to market your business. A lot of those ways can be inexpensive and a lot can be very expensive to do. So, when we first opened, we knew that we wanted to hit as many people as we could. We just wanted to get them inside the building to come and see what we were doing. So we did spend some more dollars when we first opened up, some print marketing, trying to think about myself and having kids. What was I looking for? Where was I looking for information about things to do? So we kind of lend ourselves to like, what would we be looking for? Where would we look for activities to do with our kids? And then as we grew, a lot of it is really, it's just people talking about the gym and posting their own stories, posting their pictures about coming and climbing, that really, I think, has lent itself to just that good, word of mouth. And so I think that's what we do really make sure that everyone has a great experience they want to tell others. It doesn't hurt to be right on Highway 52. So that was strategic. We were very fortunate that was some real estate we were able to get our hands on. It wasn't the plan, but that's another whole story. But it was a good, good, happy kind of accident that happened that we were able to get up on Highway 52. So I think just the presence of that building, we did put a really big banner on there that kind of catches people's eye as well. We know a lot of people use that roadway to go north and south. People come from the cities, and that's one of the first things they see when they come into Rochester. So that makes us pretty proud that we're, one of those first things that people might go, oh, what's that? Let's go check that out. So I think that's, some of it was very well planned. Others of it is just trial and error and go, oh my gosh, we spent a lot of money. I have no idea if that brought people in. Maybe let's try something else. So
I feel like
it's
that's
tough.
one of the things is it's hard to know where do your marketing dollars actually pay off. If you could pick the top 2 things that you feel like actually helped you out the most for marketing, what would those 2 things be? Is it social? Is it
It's definitely social
radio?
media. I mean, even just right now, our manager just posted, we have some new merchandise dropping. And so just even posting that, making it fun for people to get excited about new things that you're doing. I think that's really where you get some traction. You get people sharing, liking, looking at pictures, being interactive. So it's been a challenge. I'm not a real big social media fan, but I know it's important for business. So I either ask staff to help me out with it or just make sure that it's getting out there, because that is, I think, where most people are getting their content and getting their ideas and sharing. So.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it's evolved over time, because now we just had our 8th anniversary in December, but we were working on this it took us like 3 years before we were able to open from like we're gonna do this till we actually opened the doors. So we were thinking a lot about that back then too. And I mean, our budget for marketing was nowhere near what most other businesses is. And so me personally, I knew like our location was going to play into that quite huge. So yeah, when we found that lot, and it kind of worked out because Pulver right next to us, they're wonderful neighbors. They actually wanted a lot and a half. And when we looked in that area, we couldn't quite afford a full lot, and we didn't really need a full lot. And then the realtor contacted us later, like, hey, Pulver's wanting to split a lot. Would you want to take the other half? And we're like, yes. So we jumped on it. And I knew that being right on 52 because of the traffic counts and all that stuff, that was going to be real, just being there with an abnormally tall building. Because even during construction, and still to this day, we get people in all the time. Like, I just had to come see what was in here because like I drive by it all the time and I just wanted to see. But even when I was building, I'd get just random people stopping in and like, what are you putting in here? What is it? Why is this so tall? It's just, what's going on here? So I think that's been a huge asset for us, is our location for sure.
I think location is key to pretty much everything, right? And the way you said it perfectly. People are coming down from the cities. I go up to the cities and I come back to see some friends. I come back down, and you're like one of the first businesses really that you see as you're coming in. So that's huge for you.
Yeah, we've actually had a couple members of ours tell us like, oh, our kids like they don't think we're really home until we see the big ROCA sign on, and then they're like, oh, finally we're home. And so we thought that was pretty cute that the kids are like, there's ROCA and we're home.
What you need to do now is you need to get the city to put one of those giant "Welcome to Rochester" Minnesota signs.
Well, it's funny, there is one. It's a mile north of us, but nobody notices it though.
they just notice you first.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thinking back to, so talking more about the business side of all this, what are some tools and some resources that you have utilized or are currently utilizing to help you with your business?
I always say people first. I mean, it's our staff. We hire really good people. I think that's one of the biggest compliments we get is people are like, your staff's just so friendly. They're so nice. Everyone wants to talk to you. And that's the one thing that we balance when we hire staff is say, this is your job, but this is also people's social time. So you have to, be able to balance and provide a good experience for people. Also remembering that you're working. And I think our staff does an excellent job with that. We do get turnover because, we get a lot of younger staff that come in. But they come back to, go off to college or come back, work at a job, and then want to work with us part-time. So I think that's one of the biggest resources we have is just having really good people that want to share their passion for the sport. Whether they're brand new, some of our staff are really new climbers and some are really, seasoned climbers. And so I think everyone has that common reason why they want to be there too. So.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky. I think all the staff that are there like really want to be there because it starts out like they come climb, try the gym out and be like, and then a lot of them get into it like, this is a really fun place to be. And like, oh, how do I work here? I just want to be here all the time. And so just kind of that introductory into, for our staff, the people that eventually work for us, is they really want to be there. It's not just a job. They're like going around trying to find, a place to work to make some money. They really like to be there. And then I think that definitely helps with how it comes off to our customers and things like that.
And we try to listen as much as we can to customers. Like, we want it to feel comfortable. We want it to feel like a place they want to just hang out. So a lot of the things we do, I've always been told I'm super detail oriented, but I do like to really look at every aspect of the business and say, okay, how can we improve this? How can we make sure that this is meeting its need? We only have so much space, so it does restrict us to not doing some things we want to do, but trying to really activate all the spaces, make them very planful, mindful of all the customers that are coming through the business. How do they see it? How do they want to utilize those spaces?
Sure. As you were talking, I was thinking, I think that phrase goes, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I feel like that would be working at ROCA. Like it seems like it would be just a ton of fun to work there. While it is fun though, there's also, I'm sure, safety things that you have to focus on, right? Like it's a fun place to go. Everyone enjoys it, but there's also that aspect. So how are you training others, or how are you preparing for that kind of the safety, those bigger things that no one wants to talk about or think about when they go climbing?
Yeah. So, we have over the years, we've developed pretty good training protocols on, specific safety things that we look for and things that have to be maintained, or rules of the gym, all sorts of stuff. Every single rule is on that list because it's something we need people to do to stay as safe as possible. Again, climbing's not safe. We say it's inherently dangerous, meaning you cannot eliminate the danger from it no matter what you do. If you tried to, it would no longer be climbing. So it is part of what climbing is, but we do our best all the time to mitigate any
and just make
anything.
people aware, making sure everyone's aware. It's a community, so looking out for each other. So not just being responsible for yourself, but for others in the gym. So that's where that community aspects comes in. We're fortunate that there's a really good industry kind of backing climbing gyms. So we look to them for what their safety standards are. If they make changes, we look and see, can we make those changes as well to make sure we're keeping up with, the technology that's out there that can help people enjoy the activity more. And, but we're always staying on top of that and always looking to train our staff. And staff get trained in lots of different ways. There's certain kind of milestones they meet to be able to do certain things in the gym. So we're always making sure that we get our staff trained up in that order so that they're confident in what they're doing and helping others. So
Sure.
Well, yeah, and there's another part of that. So, like internally, we do all these things with our staff for training and all that sort of stuff, and all these rules and things. But I've always told our staff it's very important outwardly that we act very professional in everything we do, because a lot of people come in the door and they're nervous or they're scared. They're like, I don't know, I've never done this before. I don't know like how it works. And I always tell our staff, the more professional we could be with how we help people come into the gym, the more confidence they have in us and what we're doing at the gym. And the professionalism definitely goes like a long way to help ease any fears people have that come in the door. So it's not just internally we're doing all these things, but we're showing people outwardly too that, we take this very seriously. We want you to have a fun time, but we also want to keep you safe as we can. So being professional definitely conveys that to people and makes people feel good. So,
and I think you guys do an excellent job of that, really, because like I've been there before, and it does feel like you all know what you're talking about. And then in return, I'm like, okay, well, I feel safe. I feel like I'm going to be in good hands here. I know they know what to do if something were to happen. So I feel like from the outside looking in, you guys are doing great with that. Now, you guys have been in business, you said 8 years, is that right?
Yeah, we opened in December of 2015.
Okay, so looking back at that, what is something that you know now that you really wish you would have known at the beginning that would have helped you in your business journey?
I think for me, it kind of goes back to earlier you asked about the hurdles to getting into the business. When we opened the first gym, we were totally self-funded. So we found a building to lease. We paid for the interior build out ourselves, so we didn't have to deal with any banking or funding issues. And I would imagine this would be for a lot of entrepreneurs. If you're totally self-funded and you can find a space and you have the money to kind of make it happen, you're kind of onto those next steps of like, how do I run the place? What colors I'm going to make it? How I'm going to lay things out? How all this is all going to work. Whereas, kind of going into this very initially, I was the same thing. Like, you write out the business plan. Here's how it's going to work. Here's how we're going to run things. Here's how things are going to get laid out. But then with the place we had, we definitely did not self-fund that. So we definitely had to get a bank on board. And then how difficult that was. We actually probably met with, I don't know, up to like 20 banks, I think, just trying to get somebody to first of all, listen to us after we say rock climbing gym. And then, beyond that, how is this going to work? Because banks are very traditional. And they look at traditional businesses where if, you're opening up a restaurant, the bank knows what a restaurant is. It's whatever type of food you're serving. That could be the variable, but rock climbing is such a different business. It's hard to compare to anything else. So banks are it's hard for them just to kind of wrap their heads around, how does this make money? Or how do you're going to get enough people to do this? The community doesn't even know what this is. How is this going to work? So, finding a bank that was willing to listen, and then having on their side too, this is something I didn't know until later on, but banks have their balance sheets of things that they have loaned out to, and there's different industries that they put those buckets of money into, and if they're too heavy in one area, they don't want to loan in that area. They're looking for a loan somewhere else. So we had to find people that were willing to listen, but then also at the same time a bank that was needing more of that kind of that entertainment thing to invest in to balance out their balance sheet. So that process of finding a bank and that whole thing that took way longer than what we were thinking, for sure, and just sticking with it. And I think is important, because now knowing depending on where the bank's investments are, maybe they're looking for something you're doing, or maybe they're not. Even though it's a great idea and they would love to help you, they might have too much invested in that area, and sorry, we're just not looking for that type of investment right now. So just knowing that, not going to one bank and getting turned down and be like, oh, well, I tried, So just staying with it, if you knew ahead of time that it doesn't hurt to get turned down. And being turned down by so many banks, there was a lot of banks that were asking lots of good questions that we didn't maybe think about. And so every time we kind of eventually, if we got turned down from a bank, we kind of refined our process, refined our business plan, from the start to the first bank we went to the last bank we went to, our business plan had changed that whole time. It wasn't, we were just trying to do the same thing over and over. It was well, what was it about that this bank didn't get or didn't or didn't see or whatever, and so fleshing it out as we went until we finally got Home Federal on board with us, and they were wonderful. They were great. They were looking for this kind of thing. They still push back quite a bit because they're well, there's already a gym here in town. How are you going to make this work? And showing them how I was involved with this, and this is what I saw we could change to make it better, and things like that. Definitely got them kind of over the hump of okay, let's go for it.
So you really, what I take from that is you really need to know your numbers, know your business plan, and then be very persistent. And don't just give up on, I went to one bank, they said no, so there goes our dreams. It's being constantly persistent.
Well, and constantly learning. I'm not an entrepreneur. Jeremy is. I am very traditional. She is. In school.
She doesn't know it, but she is.
I mean, everything for me was you go to school, then you do college, then your job, and if you need to go to more school, you go to more school, then you get your next job. So, I mean, that's the background I came from. So I know there is some qualities that I brought to the business, but for me, it was learning a lot really quick. And realizing that there's maybe not a book for that, where you get to learn everything all at once. And that was super frustrating, because I if you give me the assignment, I'll go do the assignment. So for me, learning how to self-manage and say, okay, I think I did a good job today, and I just need to know I'll come back tomorrow and do the rest, versus staying up till 5 a.m. trying to get everything done that I think I need to get done. So having some patience with with starting a new business, but having that persistence to keep going. We're putting it all in, so we got to keep going and keep working hard at it.
Yeah, and I think being detail oriented is super important. Because when you go to the banks and they start asking questions that like you didn't even think about, then you kind of you feel bad that you're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So like making sure, like we were with one bank and they kept coming back to us like, well, we need more details. And I finally was like, what detail? I feel like our plan is there. Like, well, you don't even have a line item for garbage pickup every week or a line item for the phone bill. And I was like, oh my gosh, you really want that? And they're like, yeah. And so we refined it to that point, and we were getting very down to the detail until they were like super impressed. And eventually they said like, we're a little too heavy in that industry, or, that whole thing. So we did move on. But then when we went to that next bank, they were like, wow, you guys are really, really fleshed this out. You really thought about everything. And so like having that kind of process that we went through and being, looking at the details, those things matter. Or even if you don't think it matters, if you go down to that level, when you step into the bank to talk to those people, it shows them you really care and you've really thought about every little piece of this. And it just helps you get farther into the process than if you I have this great napkin idea, like I want to make this happen. So yeah, it's just making sure you're super detail oriented if you need to go to the bank for that. But even if you don't, I think it's important to really think about the parts of the not so fun parts of the business that you might or that you're gonna run into.
And what are some of those not so fun parts? One obviously is what we were just talking about.
Yeah,
but what are
like
some of
those
others?
things, like what payroll systems you're going to use, what taxes you have to file monthly, quarterly, annually. There's
And
all
if you
sorts
want to
of
do that on your own, there's plenty of services out there that can help you with all those things, but then that adds up too. So trying to balance between like, okay, what can we do by ourselves? And is that going to take away from running other parts of the business? So you're constantly trying to think, do I pay for that service or do I do that on my own? Jeremy likes to do a lot of things on his own, which is good because then he learns what it is. And he's not just like, oh, hand it to someone else and then go, I have no idea what they just did. I think they did it right. Yeah. I mean, we've really tried to step into every single part of a business to make sure that if, we didn't have that service, could we do it ourselves? I mean, setting up even the website. Well, kind of back when we started the website, I had no idea how to do it. We did have someone kind of help us. Then I realized I don't even understand the back end of all this. Okay, I need to switch. I need to learn more or, is that something I'm going to run or hire it out to run? Well, we want more control over it. So I'm going to have to learn how to do it, and we'll pay for more of a self-service so that we can keep control over that. So, yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many different parts of a business to think about and to go, is this worth my time or is this worth paying for? I think that's been one of the biggest things to having to make all those decisions. That's a lot.
Yeah, I think going back just kind of a little bit ago, what you were kind of saying is you grow up thinking I need to go to school, I get a degree, I go work that job. And that's great, but and then there's some security in working that 9 to 5, if you will. Mm-hmm. But then you go into running your own business. And I think this is something that anybody who's going into business needs to think about. All the things that you just said. You don't just go to work on Monday at 9 and then you leave at 5. You have payroll, you have all of your systems that you're using. You have to take care of every single thing. There's a lot of moving parts into owning business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a business that's open 7 days a week. We're closed 5 days a year, really closed, for some major holidays. And then the 2 days that we run our annual competition. But those 2 days, they don't count. They're fun, but they're a ton of work. There's actually more work in those 2 days than in probably months of work. But yeah, I mean, we're constantly having to think about things, even right now, I'm like, oh, my phone's over there. Is anything going on? We're not even open yet, but is staffing going to be in place today? Do we have anybody calling in sick? Do we have anybody asking questions about something that's coming up in their program that they're going to work on or come into the business for? So it doesn't end. It's a constant. So, but I mean, if you are passionate about it, you put in that effort because you're like, no, I want to see this be successful. I want to see all our hard work pay off, and I want to see people smiling and happy and feeling like, oh, I'm so glad I came today. And then I say, I'm so glad you came because it was fun. Right. I had a good time. Everything worked well. So I like seeing that. If I'm looking for success, that's what I want to see is it all worked great that day. So.
Yeah, and there's something about that like self-fulfillment, right? And like just doing your own thing and like building up. You guys have built an awesome company. And
Thank
like
you.
it's cool that you have that. I think that's just very self-fulfilling to be able to say that you did that. Is the way that ROCA is right now, is this kind of what you envisioned when you started 8 years ago, or is it different than what you
We've had
very
so
first
many.
imagined?
We've talked about so many different things. Just with the not sure how the business would go when we first opened, and it would just exceeded our expectations, which is so nice. But then you're trying to like, oh my gosh, we got to catch up. Like we're going super fast. Let's keep getting things in place and keep up with that momentum. And I mean, from there, having some really great success right away, we started thinking about so many other things like, could we open another gym somewhere else? Could we add on to our gym? Could we add something that would enhance the gym? A lot of gyms, they have additional activities that go along with the gym. I mean, we have the yoga and we have some fitness, but some people will open like a parkour gym, or they'll do a high ropes course, or they'll do all these things that are very related. So, I mean, oh man, for
Kinda
the
went
past
through
5,
lots
6
of
years,
different
we're like, what if we did
ideas.
this? And what if we did this? There's, so it was really exciting to have a business open where you then not just think of running it, but what more could we do? So, I mean, for kind of future stuff, we do have some additional land attached to where we are located. So there's some opportunity there, to be able to grow. So it's exciting to think, but it's also something you have to, again, almost like go back to your early days and say, okay, let's write up a business plan. Let's, more than just fun ideas. Let's sit down and really think, how would this impact the business currently, and what would the future look like?
Well, so then thinking about that, you were mentioning about franchising. So what is kind of the goal for ROCA then in the next 5 years? Is franchising something that you're thinking about, or are there different business goals that you have for the next 5 years?
Not franchising. Like we said, I mean, we just love the gym. We love the gym. We love the community. We just see that as something that can continue to grow, just where we're at. Like I said, we do have some additional land. So, I mean, there is a possibility that we could add on to the building. We could, just make it more than, bigger, and not, have to go in different directions or anything like that. I think that the climbing community has just really grown so nicely. I mean, we had our last youth competition. We had 34 kids compete. That's huge
And you
for
mean,
a
like,
small gym.
traveling
out
So-
and competing. And I mean, so there's just such an amazing community right now that to keep fostering that and keeping that strong and growing. That is where I just see ROCA being successful, is just being that place that people are proud of and like to represent, going out to other competitions or other gyms.
Well, and I think
that's our strength.
Yeah, I think a big realization over the years too, and it's kind of funny that you kind of phrased your question that way, because in the beginning, like when it really took off, and it was like, oh, more, and then we finally came to the position of like, no, it's enough, But then we do get so many people like, oh, it's busy here. It's like this, like when are you gonna do bigger? When are you gonna do more? And it's like, we can be happy with where we're at. Like, I'm not saying no to expanding or anything, but it's just the more successful you are, the more people push you to do more. And it's like, you have to figure out what is enough for you and what you can handle, and not take on too much.
Yeah, you want to do it well.
Yeah.
And that's always the bottom line, is I want to run the business really good. I want it to be a good, strong business. That's important to me. Or important to us. We want to do what we're doing really good. And we don't need to get huge. I think we just need to meet our needs, meet the needs of the community, and continue doing that and do a good job at it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. That is an awesome viewpoint to have. You don't need to have 30 stores or across the U.S. If you are happy with just the one and it's working well for you and your family and what your wants are, that's great. I think that it's important to point that out to people who are running a business or people who want to going into business. It's okay to just be satisfied with where you're at, whether that's making $40,000 a year or making $1 million a year. It's okay. Like, everyone's got a different way of living.
Yeah, and we've seen that, like, excuse me, climbing gyms across the country are really growing. There's bigger gyms kind of scooping up little gyms, and people think, I'm going to open this and then go do another one, and that's fine. That's definitely how business does work. Some industries, or a lot of industries, there's those kind of big players, and they go out and they do a lot, and keep expanding and expanding. But I think our industry, there's still those mom and pops, that really do things well, and they're meeting the needs of their community, and that works too. So.
I feel like you guys are meeting the needs of the community, and I want to thank you for being here in Rochester. I think Rochester is an awesome area, and part of my role as a real estate agent in doing the commercial side is I really want to bring that entertainment into Rochester. I feel like we need that here. Helps, first of all, just keep all of us entertained, but then we'll keep people here. I feel like one of the problems is people, they turn 18, 19, they go to college, and then they're like, I want to go elsewhere, but I want to bring those people back, and you guys are providing that opportunity.
Yeah, we get, with Mayo here, we get people from all over the country or all over the world coming into our gym. They start looking around, and we start talking to them. They're like, oh, I'm interviewing for a position at Mayo. I just wanted to make sure there was a good climbing gym here before I said yes. So there's a lot of people out there where that's the yes or no for them. Like, do I have a place to climb? Okay, then, and then I'll, consider working here. So even before we opened, as soon as we put our website up, I feel like within a couple of weeks we were getting emails and calls like, oh, I know you're not open yet, but I see you're building a gym. I just wanted to make sure there was a gym there before I even come interview at Mayo. Wow. And so, yeah.
So that's something to be said. Anybody who is coming to visit Rochester, coming to Mayo, go check out ROCA. They're a great they're a great thing to do while you're here visiting or being with family. The last question that I want to ask is, and both of you can answer this, is what is one piece of advice or encouragement that you would give to someone who is wanting to be an entrepreneur or already has their own business and wants to keep being successful?
I think this is hard for me, but just believe in yourself. And I know it's maybe a little cliche, but like I said, for my story, growing up more in an academic setting, a traditional setting, going and getting a job, and but then taking that step to becoming an entrepreneur, it's just believing that I can do it, and that it's, it can be a lot of hard work, but just making sure that you're trusting in the people you surround yourself with, but knowing that you're doing it, and continue to work hard at it, and taking the perspective outside of yourself, but also knowing that internally too, that you can make this work.
Don't get overwhelmed. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers, and we're really good at solving problems, that are in our wheelhouse, or like small problems, whatever. But sometimes, super large problems can come up, like a pandemic, or when we were first getting going and we finally got a bank on board, we actually had an entirely different location set up, ready to go, and we were the bank was ready to issue money. We were ready to break ground. We had everything lined up. And the last hurdle before that could happen is we had to have it appraised. Even though it was an existing business, the local appraiser had to go through our business plan and look at what we were planning to spend all this money on and build. And once it was built, ready to open the doors, would it be worth that? That was the value they were looking at. And we were actually out in Colorado at the annual industry conference, the annual summit, kind of getting ready to looking at systems and stuff, looking at new products, things, all that sort of stuff. And right in the middle of it, our banker called us and said the appraiser tanked it. So we're out. We're like, what? So we literally had to start all the way over from scratch. And so it was, that could put a lot of people like, oh, I'm, done, I'm out, but taking those kind of huge problems and chopping them up, chunks that you could handle, and getting through it. Because, there's, for most things, I would imagine there's always a way through it. There's always a way to come out on the other end. So just, if you believe in what you're doing, just stick with it and, work through the problem like you're used to with as being an entrepreneur, for sure.
I think both of those are awesome advice to kind of pass off to other people. It's hard running your own business at any level, whether you're just starting off or you're been in it for a number of years. Well, Well, again, I want to thank both of you for being here with us today and sharing your stories and sharing about your business. And for all of you that are listening, thank you very much. And I hope that you were able to kind of gain some insight into running a business and just get some inspiration from both Jeremy and Karen. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.